Hello folks, and welcome to this little build and paint that I'm going to be doing here. And this one is going to be the story of Kyle the Red and White from Warcradle Studios. This is going to be for Armoured Clash, and it's basically a cute little Santa with some mechanical reindeer and a few little pieces all on this nice little diorama base. So this is part of a little campaign that Warcradle are doing over the holiday period. So if you want to get a copy of this miniature, you're going to have to contact your local friendly game store, and you're going to have to ask them if they're taking part in the promotional campaign that's available from Warcradle. That way you'll be able to secure one of these for yourself. It also comes with, and I'll show you on my phone, a little campaign. So I have a little PDF here that describes the campaign, the various different missions, little setups and scenarios, and at the very bottom of the PDF we have a little build guide for Kyle the Red and White. So that's what we're going to be doing here. We're going to build this guy up and then give him a little bit of a paint job. So as you can see, it's all pretty straightforward. We have the sides of the sleigh. We have the sleigh and Kyle himself. He's a big fella too for Armoured Clash. Look at the size of that. We have the two mechanical reindeer. We have their harness to the sleigh. We have a sort of mechanical tentacle coming out from the back of Kyle's sack, which sounds amazing. Little mechanical dog, a little snowman, two legs for the reindeer, the two heads for the reindeer, and the what you would think initially looks like a little wreath, but it looks more like a saw blade with a few decorative details on the top of it. I've taken all these parts, put them into warm water, warm soapy water, let them steep for a while, and then taken them out of that and let it all air dry. So it's now ready to construct. So it's going to be a case of just clipping all our parts out. And if you're not familiar with working with resin, what I would suggest you do is take your clippers, and you see these gates here. We want to clip them at the very bottom first to free the part from the rest of the resin, and then we can go in and do a tidier, smoother cut up here underneath like that. And if you want to sand that, you can, but this piece isn't going to be visible. The two sides of the sleigh, they're nicely molded, so they'll just sort of come right off. Again, I don't think we really need to clean that very much. From there, we can then start gluing the sides of the sleigh on. There's a little key slot there on the side, so we'll put a little bit of super glue into that and then move it around and spread it around a bit so that it catches the majority of the miniature. From there, we'll just stick that down, make sure it's all lined up, and then we can gently press that part into its position. If you're feeling fancy and you have a little bit of activator, just let that seep in to those areas, and that will make sure that part is secure. After that, we can then glue it down onto the base. All pretty straightforward. So I'm going to go ahead, glue the rest of the model together, and then show you one completely built. As you can see, we have them built and primed now, and we've primed in just grey cere, just Citadel grey cere, nothing special there. I have a few paints that I want to start with. So first, I want to start with some speed paints. So we're going to be using some dark wood. That is going to be for basically everything on the sleigh that isn't the seat, the sack on the back, and the gold trim. We're then going to move on to slaughter red. That is obviously going to be for our big guy's clothing. We're going to have to go in with a rather small brush to figure that out. I'm thinking as well for the reindeer, we're going to try ruddy fur on them because it seems to be about the right color. So we're going to start sticking those down and see where we go with that. So I'm just going to chuck some of my dark wood down first and give that a go on the sleigh. So let's have a look at the sleigh. And let me just try and get it into a better position. There we go. And I'm just going to give the sleigh just a coat of this over all of its parts. I'll then move on to the other colours, and then when we come back, we'll see how they've worked out. So we now have those initial layers down. You can see we have the dark wood on the side of the sleigh. They have the ruddy fur on our reindeer. I've put 2 layers down on that just to richen it up a little bit. And we have the red on our guy himself. So from there, I'm going to move on to a little bit of bony matter. And this is going to be going on to the cloth of the 2 sacks. There is only 2. And I'm probably also going to maybe just do the little dog as well. But this will go on to the material here. So we'll get that done, let it dry, and then what we're going to have to do before we move to using traditional paint is give the model a coat of matte varnish to seal this stuff down, because it does tend to reactivate if you're a little slapdash with your paints afterwards. So it's better just to have that layer down and just get it sealed. Now the speed paints are all down, what I've done is sealed it all with a layer of spray varnish just to make sure that none of those paints reactivate as we start adding other layers. I have done a couple of extra things here, mainly to the main guy himself. His skin is aged hide, and the trim on his uniform is a bit of grim black. So it's just to make sure that he was all done and every speed paint I wanted to use was finished with. Now, with that sealed, we're going to move on to some metallics, and the first one is going to be our main one, and it's going to be some greedy gold. And that is going to be for the trim on absolutely everything, because, you know, he needs to be bright and shiny. And we're just going to be painting in every piece of gilding to make him all nice and bright. After that, we're going to move on to some plate mail. That is going to be for these mechanical parts here and part of the harness for the reindeer as well. And yeah, we'll get on with those and show you what they look like when we come back. With our metallics down, what I've also done is gone in with some ancient stone and just paint the antlers on our 2 reindeer. So that's nice. We're going to move on from this, but you can see the metallic work has really brought the sleigh and the reindeer up very, very nicely. So from there, we're going to take a selection of paints. We're going to use Emerald Forest. So I'll put that to the back, move him forward a little. Then some Crystal Blue, some Pure Red. That'll be for the noses of our 2 reindeer, as well as probably some of the decorations on the side, and a little bit of Demonic Yellow. So we're going to do a lot of primary sort of bright colors here, and that's going to just add some of our decoration colors to the whole model. So it's just going to be a case of, we'll start with the Pure Red, I think, and we'll see what that looks like on the noses of our reindeer for a start. And that, once it's tidied up a little bit, is going to look very charming. So it's going to be a case of going around our little objective marker here, just picking out different decorations and details with those different colors and making it a little bit more bright and interesting looking. So what I would say now is the figures on our base are done, and I think everything is looking quite good. I've done a few more washes. I've done a dark tone, a soft tone over the gold. The dark tone is sort of over the metallic parts. The soft tone also went over the antlers on the deer or the reindeer and over their bodies as well. Just trying my best to tidy everything up. And those last few colors as well, I wanted to do them in solid regular paints because they stand out a lot more and look a lot more interesting and solid than if you just use speed paints, because, you know, speed paints are going to move around, they're going to add shading. But I wanted the presents to sort of stand out and be sort of apparent, you know, be sort of obvious what they are. With that said and done, and another layer of varnish down over the whole lot just to protect what we've already done, we're going to move on to the base. And to start on the base, I'm going to give it a base coat of Neptune Glow, because I really like that sort of quite light blue. And I think as we build the layers up on the base, maybe a little bit of basing material as well, you're going to see, hopefully, what I'm trying to aim for here, sort of that real sort of glacier kind of coloration I want to aim for. So we're just going to get stuck in and paint our whole base in the Neptune glow. Now this is a Fanatic paint, but it may take a couple of coats to get down properly. So with the base color down, which again I'll just remind you is Neptune glow, so it's a nice interesting looking blue, sort of off color. What I've done now is taken what's left on my palette and added some matte white, about 2/3 of this to what was left of the blue, and that is giving me sort of a far brighter, almost off-white color. And for that we're going to use to pick out areas on the base to start bringing up a sort of more snowy sort of look and sort of more icy sort of look. So again, it's going to be going around the base, and this time I'm sort of just stippling the paint on, just going to let it do whatever it wants. Pick the sort of higher level areas, leave our darker blue in the recesses to try and make it look a bit more snowscapey. So we'll get on with this and see what we get. With our lighter blue mix down on the base, let's have a look at what we've got. Trying to avoid some of the areas that would remain in shadow or shade and a little bit of broken ice and stuff in there. From here, we're going to move on to a little bit of a dry brush, and we're going to use just some pure matte white for this. And that'll just bring it up to the level that we need. So I have some white paint on this little brush. Then I'm just going to work a lot of it off until it's sort of almost dry. And then what we're going to do is just start to dry brush over the whole base, and that is going to start to highlight up and give that sort of more frosty kind of look to everything on the base. Then after that, we're going to add a little bit of snow flock of some description. I'll mention that once it's done. And then when we come back, the whole base, the whole objective marker will be complete, and we can see what our final result is. With our basing material done, a couple of little touch-up steps just to make sure there was as much tidiness to it as possible. Our little objective marker is now complete. So let's have a look at the base. So what I did on the base, as I was talking about, was put some snow flock down after that little white dry brush. The snow flock wasn't really sitting the way I wanted it to, so after it was down and dry, I took some watered down white paint, just the matte white we've been using already, and just put that on the areas where the snow flock was. And what that's given me is a smoother, crisper, cleaner looking snow. So that's great. I've put that around the areas that I put the flock down. I also went in and painted our little snowman there, as you can see. So I gave him a couple of highlight coats of matte white, painted his little hat black, his his nose orange, and the little pieces of coal for his eyes and his buttons are all there. And I also went in with a little bit of the matte white and just edge highlighted some of those pieces of ice. So it's going from a bit of drifty, snow drifty stuff to like broken ice there. And that's what I did with those. And overall, the objective marker has turned out pretty nice. I quite like it. Tons of contrast in there with all the different colors, plenty of color to play with. And of course, our big happy fella himself with a totally not rotary saw for a backpack arm. And yeah, this was a fun little thing to paint. And if you want to try and get your hands on one of these, do remember to head down to your friendly local game store and see if they're participating in the campaign. That said, a fun little thing to paint and just something extra to add to your collection for Armoured Clash. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Put your comments down below, let me know what you think. If you manage to get one of these, do create a project on the project system and show us how you painted yours. So until next time, take care, stay safe, and see you again very soon.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.